We are back and we missed you. Welcome to the Heroes Global Championship for Europe. My name is Trixler, and joining us, finally, Caldor.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing great, man. How are you doing being in America? You're getting all set up?
Yeah, very well. I mean, I'm still struggling with a couple of delivery things, but overall it's going good.
You'll get it all figured out. So, hope you guys are excited for this Friday. This is the start of Week 6, and we have some fantastic matches set up for you. But let's check out the standings. Where is everyone currently in the entire world for the HGC? Here we go. North America at the very top is Tempo Storm. Europe is Team Liquid. Korea, L5, still dominating in China. Currently CE up at the 2-0 currently. They started last week, so we'll continue to watch our matches and get very pumped. But with Week 6 starting up, I'm going to go over here to Caldor because I just want to hear more and more from you. What are you looking forward towards in Europe?
In Europe, it's actually going to be, once again, for me, it's always the battle between the top three.
Sure.
And at the same time, it's also like Expert trying to just like push their way into that. That was already a great storyline when we were looking at the first part. But right now, I'm excited to see if they can maybe do it this time, because they are going up against Fnatic right away. And that was a very close game the last time.
Well, the top three is great, but the underdogs, those are the guys that I'm looking out for. Let's look at the standings and see where our teams are currently looking. I'm still cheering for Synergy. They're all the way down there at the bottom at number 7. We'll get more of their action tomorrow. But today, the number 2, Fnatic, will be facing off against the number 4, Team Experts.
Yeah, and as you're talking about Synergy and also like the teams that are more towards the bottom of the ranking, one of the things that I find super interesting is that Tricked is currently on the 6th position. When we're going into the season, a lot of teams, a lot of players and the community as well echoed that they think Tricked Esports is going to go far.
Yeah.
Some of them saw them even within the top 3 and said like, okay, this team is doing extremely well. Having a player like Eternal on your roster is just absolutely amazing. Then of course Alex at that front line. That's not really how it turned out, though. So Tricked is in for a rough ride this season. They need to be careful.
Yeah, they had a really unfortunate start, it felt like, in the first few weeks. They started to find their footing towards the end, but they did have to face off against some of the best. Their match against the Misfits, now Team Liquid, was actually fantastic. It was probably the most, or the best that they've played the entire season. So we can see more of them, actually, later on today, as they'll be taking on Team Liquid again. So let's figure out what's going on with our first couple matches and check in with the teams.
I think there's a pretty clear standing in the European HGC. I think the only difference that could be in the standings is that we should be above Misfits, maybe. It's a close match, but I think if we didn't face them the first week, things could have turned out differently.
So what makes our team different is that we're not afraid to try new things and risk something to surprise our opponents and maybe make them uncomfortable in their play.
I really like going off meta. I never believed in a specific meta where you stay in one place. I like to experiment, I like to try new things, and whenever we pick up a new hero, it's pretty much me playing it, because it fits. Like the slot the new hero will take fits very well, because Quack is very good at the standard range, and Wubby is really good at the melees, so I just pick up whatever is left.
When I'm trying to find new strategies, I watch other teams play, but the difference is, from other teams, is that I think I have better understanding which parts of the strategies work best and which are not that good, so I can take like five things from 5 different teams and use it for our game plan.
Team Expert facing off against Fnatic. What a great way to start here in Week 6. Now, normally I would say this is a matchup that you shouldn't worry too much about it. Fnatic should walk away. But Team Expert and Fnatic actually faced off outside of the HGC. Expert walked away with a solid victory in the King of Nordic, and if you're Fnatic, you got to be a little bit scared of that.
Yeah, I think the dynamic between what we have with Expert and Fnatic is super interesting. First of all, you already talked about the tournament where in the final Fnatic lost. At the same time, there's always the question, how much was that actually valued by Fnatic? It's the same discussion that we're having every single time when you have a tournament just before either a big event or a league starts again, because this is the bigger priority. Of course, you want to walk away with a victory in the tournament.
Sure.
But at the same time, does Fnatic hold something back here? And you said these two teams have an interesting history. It's also true since we saw them faced with a 3-2 the last time.
Yeah.
And I don't know, Fnatic coming off that loss at the Western Clash on top of all of it too, that has to burden them quite a bit.
Let's dive deeper into that. Fnatic, what's up with them? They always seem to be in second place. We'll talk about the Battleground, but let's go ahead and keep talking about Fnatic here, second place.
Like one other thing, every single time we're going to a European event, it's the same thing. You have misfits, okay? Like now Team Liquid, like the dominant team that does so well everywhere. We have on their part, we have someone like Darkmog that can jump the back line and really get out alive, kill 3 people. Then you have Fnatic, the Swedes, like all handsome, dominating everything online, and at the end of the day, Dignitas wins it.
Yeah.
So that's how every single one of these European offline finals seems to plan out. And for Fnatic at this point, it needs to really like gnaw at them. I mean, it has to pressure you that you are just not able to win one of these finals, and that's a massive problem for them. So how much frustration do they carry with them right now going into the season?
Well, let's see if they can push through the frustration. Let's find out the Battleground that we're going to here for game number 1. Now, for you at home, I know it's been a while. It is a best-of-5 series. The first to 3 wins will secure the win in the HGC for this weekend against these 2 teams. Now, bans are already out. Dragonshire and Cursed Hollow, oddly enough, will not be playable. Our first Battleground that we are going to be going to is Braxis Holdout. Now, this has been chosen by Expert.
It's chosen by Expert, and I find that super interesting because I've seen a couple of the scrims, and a lot of the teams actually start practicing this map a little bit more. And I'm super excited to see what we're getting there, because one of the things that always stood out a bit with Praxis is that if we're talking off-meta picks, this is one of the maps where we oftentimes see them being pulled out, especially if you have Expert playing.
Especially with Expert. That's the thing I was pretty excited about. We're back in the HGC. We can see new meta. First game of the day, Expert. So we're going to see what exactly our heroes will be picking up. I do know that Expert has been running Zul'jin on this Battleground. They did it in the King of the Nordic Cup. They actually first picked Zul'jin, which was outstanding to me, but Europe, man, always changes the depth of their heroes.
Yeah, we have seen some pretty exciting comms. I mean, we had so many patches just since the Western Clash that the meta is definitely changing up. We have seen a lot more double support, for example, become a bit of a standard. So it's interesting to see how the teams are actually getting accustomed yet, because scrims are always one thing. When the season then actually starts, it's a completely different ball game. We saw that actually at the beginning of HGC, when Dignitas, for example, failed to perform throughout the first 2 games that they had in the play day because their drafting was just not where it was supposed to be, and they realized very quickly, boys, we need to change something.
Sure.
They did, and all of a sudden they had a much better stride there. But this is something that could happen again now that we had this break where teams have only the scrim experience without really knowing, okay, does my scrim opponent really go all out with this right now, or do they hold something back?
Yeah, there's a lot for us to watch today. With there being new heroes available, Probius is in fact playable today. We are playing on the patch right before Cassia, so no Cassia will be available. Let's go ahead and jump into our draft. Our first one in week 6 here. Team Expert facing off against Fnatic. Now, obviously, bans haven't changed quite too much here. Tassadar is still kind of good.
It's actually interesting. Like, Blizzard is just hitting Tassadar with a nerf hammer one time after another, and he doesn't go down. He's the phoenix from the ashes, it feels like you can't kill him. But yeah, so he was one of the bans that we still see constantly. But there's actually a lot of other bans or like heroes that have been having such a high priority that they see bans. And Nubarak has a huge priority. We've seen bans on Arthurs. Lucio is also like a big deal right now. Just not only the heal, but also the utility and the mobility that he gives the team. That's something that high-level teams can just completely capitalize on, and that makes him very dangerous. So we oftentimes see bans on him too.
Yeah, and you'll see more Arthas as well, which is surprising. We actually had a decent amount of Arthas in the first season, but his slight changes lately has made him a monster. So we can see more of him being in the mix. And I've actually heard that Probius has been getting picked up here and there too. He was playing the King of the Nordic Cup as well, so especially with Experts. So you might be able to see that probe today, especially in these 2-lane maps. He can be quite a devastating hero.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, every time you have a new hero coming into the meta, you see a lot of the teams just like testing them out a bit.
Yeah.
When Zul'jin, for example, came in, the first thing that happened in the week after Zul'jin was really part of the game, all of the teams played him in scrims. He was a huge deal. He appeared in every single draft, and then after the first few days, teams said, okay, we kind of know, we get where he's at right now. We still feel that other heroes are better. Then they let him completely fall off for the next 2 weeks. When I was watching scrims, I didn't see a single Zul'jin. And then slowly and steadily, they said, okay, He's not the first pick hero, he's not the priority, but in this case, we can actually pick him as a niche here, can pick him in our composition there. So this is how teams usually approach it. At first, you grind out the new hero a little bit in the scrims at least, get a feeling for it, and then you see, okay, where does it fit the best?
I'm actually kind of curious how much Valla we're going to see. Tychus was kind of the first few weeks of we seeing him getting picked up in HGC, and now Valla has just taken that spot of Tychus with his nurse being out. Valla's just kind of the be-all, end-all for these drafts.
Valla is she's just absolutely amazing when it comes to being a very, I would say like a very standard backbone and a pick that you can always fall back onto.
Totally.
And she doesn't really have the priority right now that you would say like, okay, we have to ban her out first. So a lot of the teams are able to pick her up in one of the first rotations. So she sees actually a ton of play because she's just in that sweet spot where you are very, very strong. You offer a lot of wave clear, you offer the single target damage, but you're not great enough over the other heroes to validate a ban. So that's one of the things where there's an interesting dynamic. You see here a lot in the games where other heroes might not have the same game ratio, but they get banned out a lot more often.
Well, for you at home, we're working on getting back into the draft. In fact, let's do it now. Let's go ahead and jump on in now. We didn't quite get our bans, but here we are. More stuff I'm looking forward towards. I want to see more of that Valeera from Fnatic, man. Schwimpy talking about the off-meta life. I love watching him bring out these random heroes that he excels so well on.
One of the heroes that he loves is also Chromie. We talked about the Lucio, by the way. So Lucio is immediately being banned out here. And that gives caters a bit to what we've been talking earlier. So you can see a lot of double support comps, single support comps, but Lucio offers the utility. Expert, they seem to be a bit afraid of that global utility that we oftentimes see, especially out of Fnatic, a team that is heavily focused on that. So they ban out the false set over a potential Tacita. But Fnatic,
gosh, I love these two teams. First off, Fnatic in the first 5 weeks always banned out Tacita. Now, obviously, Lucio's got up in priority for them, but Expert was never afraid to face off against Tacita. They ban out the Falstad, take away the hero Quacknix that will play pretty often here. Zarya taken away, and now Expert on the left side.
Zarya being picked as... This is something that we actually see quite a lot right now. And I mean, she fulfills in a lot of ways a similar role to what Tacita is trying to provide to you. So you have that shield mechanic.
Sure.
With Zarya, of course, it's a little bit more that she adds in that sense. But you can already see from what we are having right here that if you compare that to the Western Clash, that all these patches have been doing work. So the meta is definitely switching here a bit. And Expert, they have to make a move now. So for them, of course, the question is, do they, for example, pick up an early Dehaka? Is that a priority for them, considering that he is one of the globals that we still have? And he also has the option of just running the solo lane. But the priorities that we've seen thus far, especially on this map, are usually a bit different. And that is also mirrored with them going into a nerfed ETC and Malfurion.
All right, so Malfurion, ETC being picked up here on the left for Expert to the right. Fnatic now has the opportunity to go almost full shield meta, full Korea, if you're talking about 6-7 weeks ago. Grab a Tacita, get an auto attacker here. They really have a lot of tools available to them.
And also, talking about the tools that they have available right now, Malfurion per se is still an absolutely fantastic choice. In all the games that I've watched so far, Malfurion always makes an appearance. That hasn't changed. He was one of the cornerstones of every draft that we have seen in the last few months, and that's still the case. So in this case, you always want to make sure that you, for example, get a good slide with an ETC and then Malfurion following up with a root. You're trying to incorporate into your draft some burst damage that you can lock the target down and take it away. The 4-man on Braxis is extremely important. So you need to make sure that you have a strong 4-man. You need to win one of these lanes at least.
And just to note, yeah, that ETC will not be nerfed here. This is before the Cassia changes, so he hasn't had the armor changes.
Good point.
He still has the attack speed. So this is old ETC for you guys at home, so still strong. One of the few that we saw very often, Bad Binny in particular, loves ETC. Now, over to Varian. Breeze has been playing a monster Varian as of late. He has been putting work in, almost to the point where you could say maybe it's starting to rival his ETC gameplay.
You know, I actually talked to Breeze a few months back, and when Varian came in and he was already in the game for a couple of weeks, and then he said he feels the hero has a big impact, but he also said he feels he doesn't like him too much because he feels he can't do as much as he can with other heroes. His ETC play is something that we always highlight. I'm kind of wondering a little bit if that changed since then, so I need to I'll talk to him about that once more. But having the Varian in here with a Zarya as a backup, of course, gives you the ability to just sustain yourself throughout team fights. You have a Valla there who also benefits from the Zarya shields. And that comes back to what we've been saying earlier. The Valla, a very, very solid pick in the first rotation, doesn't really warrant the ban just yet, but she's definitely the damage dealer you want to have in the backline.
And what I like about Fnatic's draft so far is it hasn't really revealed anything too crazy in terms of foundation. Usually Expert can pride themselves on picking up a noob rack, having that counter available to them, but there's no reason to pick up that hero right now. Now Fnatic's kind of hovering with their ban. I'm thinking a top laner could be good here. We've seen a lot of Dahaka from Team Expert, a ton of Dahaka. I wouldn't mind seeing it banned here.
Yeah, me neither. I mean, in this case, you have to really ask yourself, do you value the global, yes or no? And he's also a great solo laner. If they go for an Alarak here instead and ban him out. So the Dahaka is still like an option for Team Expert at this point.
Yeah.
And you've been talking a bit about a Nuburak and about drafting. So a Nuburak in this case oftentimes makes... It's an interesting hero because usually you want to use him as a mage counter.
Yeah.
So that per se, per definition, would make him appear a little bit later in the draft when you have something to counter. But he's so good right now that an earlier Nuburak pick is nothing where you look at it as like, oh yeah, that was a mistake. Like, the hero's fantastic.
Yeah, you can build in the shield if you want to on a Nuburak. The level 7, picking up that subterranean shield, is actually fantastic for being good against auto attackers as well. That's 2 to 3 auto attacks that you would normally have to tank.
The interesting part is that it's actually one of Breeze's favorite heroes to play.
A Nuburak?
Yeah, but usually when we have them played, it's not really the main tank.
Yeah.
So, and as Breeze is the main tank player, is someone like Wooby who jumps on the second melee. And I can tell you one thing, Breeze is not going to be very happy about that.
That's a moment where you kind of just accidentally click it in, like, oops, I guess we're locked in, team. Because in HGC rules, once you pick a hero, there are no takebacks.
Yeah.
So Breeze just needs to, you know, sabotage his team. Okay!
Oh!
Probius Jaina. So Team Expert in game number 1 is bringing in the mix. We have our first Probius of the HGC Europe.
Okay, for me, this basically says that in the middle of the cast when we are starting, I can just like go AFK for 5 minutes and get a coffee while you fanboy Probius on the top lane. That's kind of what's going to happen here. But yeah, next to Probius, who's going to take the solo, I suppose we have also now ETC Malfurion with a Jaina follow-up. So, as we said earlier, ETC is going to look for a slide, Malfurion for the root, and we've been talking about a bit of bursty damage to follow that up. That's where Jaina comes into play.
Jaina bringing in the damage, Probius going to be on that top lane. So if you're Fnatic, you're thinking about who you want to be up there. Do you just want to go ahead and stack your bottom lane and make sure that you're good to go in engages, or do you actually want to be able to handle that Probius? To be honest, Probius is pretty difficult to handle. You need someone that can deal with the pylons and also get hard engaged. Sonya is actually pretty solid in that regard. She can sustain through the heals, but does Sonya work against ETC, Malfurion, and Jaina?
Yeah, that's the big question what they're going to do with this. Also, one of the things I want to point out was a hero that would be great against this on this map would be the Falstad who got banned out.
That's true, yeah.
Because like if you can kill Probius, that's all that you have to do, right? A good fly in at that point, and you're done. But Expert, of course, with that draft already from the start, leaning towards that. So you can really see like that pickup is something they planned from the start. Banning out the Falstad is by no means a bad ban either way. But now with them trying to go into the Probius, it gains even more value because you limit the gank potential on Probius.
So Expert looking for a little more damage here, I would assume. Could also grab another tank and just try to make sure that you keep people at bay so Probius and Jaina have time to set up. Probius requires a lot of setup time.
Oh, yeah.
Almost 10 to 12 seconds, I would argue, he needs to make sure that he's ready for a team fight. So Expert kind of circulating around that pick.
Yeah, the first time when I actually played with the Probius, it was actually when I was playing with Dread and we were just like trying a little bit, trying a few things. I played the Auric at that point.
Yeah,
and
it's good.
I heard about, like, I hadn't played Probius at the time, so I was actually just thinking, okay, I heard he needs setup time. So every time I dropped my Entomb, I was like, Dread, why are you not doing anything? He's just like, you don't understand how much time I actually need.
He's like, if I don't have 2 pylons, I don't want to do anything. Please chill out.
And then I looked at the cooldowns and they were like, all right, I understand the problem here.
Well, Sonya will be the final pickup for Expert. I'm kind of wondering if that might actually be a leap Sonya, just to give them the final engage they would like. Granted, they have ETC. But regardless, Expert coming out and being Expert, right?
Coming out swinging,
yeah.
Like I like it. This is like an 80-80 draft of anything. So, and the map as well. Like we have Braxis as the starting map. How often does that actually happen?
Doesn't happen very often.
Pretty rare.
Probably only with Expert. I think the playing Ducks as well will run some Braxis here and there. So we're going to be running into Braxis holdout here for game number 1. If I'm going to ask you and put you on the spot right now, who walks away with this draft?
I don't have a lot of... I'm going probably against like Norm here, but I don't have a lot of faith in Probius in that setup. So I'm...
You don't care about the probe?
Dude, I'm a Zerg at heart.
That's fair.
Like,
that's fair.
Only a dead Protoss is a good Protoss.
Okay.
It's like...
Well, you at home...
You kind of ran into that one. I'm
sorry,
sorry,
I totally
but like
did. All right. Well, you at home, what do you think here about the draft? Let us know. Hit us up with the hashtag HGC at Heroes Esports. We'd love to read your thoughts live on air. And of course, it's always feeling good to engage with you guys. We kind of love you guys. Even Coward Warrior, he's a tough brute, but he loves you too. He's got a big heart.
Even me.
He's a tough brute. He's pretty tough. You got a heart? It's right there. I know you do, man.
I know. It's somewhere.
It's somewhere in this chest area. So, yeah, I actually look over to this draft a little bit, and I'm leaning towards Fnatic slightly, but it will be on the Probius in that top lane and how well he can handle and keep that pressure down. Ragnaros, again, with the slight nerfs, is kind of hurting, but I do like the sustain and the poke that is available. If you're able to hit the Probius a few times and get him under half health, he falls significantly in terms of actual control.
For me, it's a confidence issue. We talked about the tournament where we had in the final Fnatic losing to Expert. We don't know how much of that was really them trying to hide things. We talked of them losing at the Western Clash. And if it was the first time that they actually lost in the final in that way, where they were supposed to win, where even the opponent's team going into the final said, we are probably not going to win this one, then I would say, like, okay, it's easy. But this is like the third time, I think, where they are just like on the brink of just being the champions and they're being shut down. And I want to see if they can really get into that mindset again, where they say, like, guys, okay, didn't work the first time, didn't work the second time, third time we fell to, let's just reset, start again. If they can do that, that would be amazing. That needs a really, really strong setup. But yeah, that's the one thing that I'm looking out for. Are they going to make mistakes that are uncharacteristic for them? If not, I think they're going to take the win.
Yeah, it's important for both of our teams. Again, the mid-season brawl does begin in roughly, what, 8-9 weeks? We actually going to have the mix-ups happening. We have playoffs first, we have the Crucible, and then we have the mid-season brawl. So every single victory is actually very important for both of our teams. If you're not in first, you are competing in the playoffs, no matter what.
And with the mid-season brawl, another thing that we actually have to point out is that it's going to happen again in Sweden. We're going to be at DreamHack in Jönköping. So if you guys want to attend that, you should look into that right now already.
Jönköping. Is that how you say it? Jönköping?
Jönköping.
All right. Well, we're going in, man. Game number 1, HGC Europe, is officially started here for Week 6. Let's go to Braxis Holdout. Remember, this will be a best-of-5 series between our two teams.
And starting to the left side in our game in blue, we have immediately Team Expert with Curson on the Malfurion right now. We're currently looking at Bad Benny on the ETC, Blade on the Sonya, ADRD, who else on Probius, and Nick is playing Jaina.
To the right, Fnatic, second in the league at the moment. Smexy will be on the Rhaegar. We're going to have Breeze on the Variant, and man, he has been putting in work for that character. Quacknex will be on Vola per usual. Schwimpy will be on the Zarya, and last but not least, your boy Wubby up in the top lane.
Yeah, the thing with Fnatic is also, you're talking a bit about Breeze on the Varian. It kind of fits their playstyle. They're a pretty aggressive team. The only team that has actually more average kills than they do is Misfits. So currently Fnatic is sitting on 9.3 kills on average in a game, which is absolutely crazy. So that's something. Just as an example, Experts has 7.3. So that's a 2-kill difference per game, which is pretty significant.
That it is. Something else to know. #1 healer currently in the HGC for Europe is Cursed, who is currently on Team Expert in terms of average healing. So watch out for him to continue supporting his team, man. Quite a quiet guy, if you will. You talk about ADRD, you talk about Blade sometimes here, especially when he's on Azul, but Curson, man, definitely deserves some praise himself. Now, our lanes are a bit on the outside here. We have 4 in the top, running in onto Wubby, going in for the aggressive play, but Schwimpy will be there to assist with the shields.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited for this one. I mean, this is kicking off our best of 5 here. Not only do we have Braxis, we have actually Probius in the game as well, so we're going to watch out for him. Yeah, I'm actually surprised that you didn't go off on him just yet.
The Probius life?
Yeah, you want to.
I mean, I like Probius. He's not quite my murky/chromy area of expertise. I've dabbled a bit here and there in the Probius life. His wave clear is fantastic. His setup time around bosses, if you have 45 seconds, he can actually do pretty well on a boss. But his actual lane presence, the bottom lane, is very similar to Gazlo.
We have interesting movements also, like on the map. Look at where ETC is going. He, the entire time, was just simply trying to see if there's a rotation happening, if we can interrupt that. So they are actually dancing around a lot with their heroes right now, only showing 2 on lane. And both of the teams are very, very mobile how they work the map at this point. Right now they leave Varian at the bot lane solo against Probius. But yeah, both of them looking for an opportunity to maybe set up a gank here. I like it. Like, it's a very agile performance there so far.
Yeah, Expert not really showing any fear. This is one of my favorite things about Bad Benny, is he's always willing to engage for his team, whether he makes it through or he doesn't. He does not mind dying for the good of the team. That's why Expert is so successful, especially against the lower ends of the league, where they're definitely above the other 4 teams, but not quite breaking in the top 3. It's because they're willing to be bold and be aggressive and change the way that they move in for their fight. So constantly watch out for the Bad Benny. He will consistently continue moving. Blade will now be working on the minions in the top right to grab some pressure.
And this is a really aggressive move, actually, what they made here. They go into steal the opponent's camp away. So it's not only that they're going for their own camp, they steal the camp of Fnatic away from them, as Fnatic is currently at the bot lane. So that was actually really well done. Expert has nice movements on the map, gets the kill against Ragnaros. That was a big one as well. They are doing work. That's a solo lane that just lost the hero. That's experience lost all over the place now.
Solid aggressive play from Expert. And I like the aggression on the Hellbats in the top right, simply because if you talk about Fnatic, most people say that Varian really isn't a tank until level 10, when it gets that taunt available to them. So Expert being able to move in for hard engages, as long as they dictate the pace with ETC and Sonya, does have a stronger early game until that level. So I love them invading, getting those Hellbats, and then of course the follow-up kill, that's icing on the cake.
Expert has really crisp shot calling right now. They saw the rotation of Fnatic down to the bot lane, and AD Ardy, as he was moving away with Probia, saving himself, immediately called, hey, you can take top camp now. So they go in, take it away, they get a kill against Ragnaros, and now they have a 1-level lead because of it. Because they were able to break through the wall, and they took down the hero that was supposed to soak experience up at the top lane. So Expert with very crisp shot calling up to this point, and Fnatic finds themselves in trouble. But at the top, we have a bit of action happening as Blade is just spinning away.
Yeah, Sonya will do that if you don't have that major lockdown, which is going to be non-existent for a slight amount of time here for Fnatic. We're going to have the charge in from Breeze. Bad Benny taking damage. He will power slide away, but 54% of the beacon base has gone to Expert, and most of that is due to their proper rotations, the shot calling that Keldor was talking about earlier.
Breeze is now starting to claim position up at the top again. The problem is that we are going to see Expert with an earlier level 7, and they might be, if they can get a kill off that, that would be fantastic for them. Then they will probably also end up with a very huge wave in the first run. But for now, it's still Fnatic trying to hold their spot. At the bot lane, we're having Ragnaros attempting to just steal one of the beacons away from Sonya, since Fnatic already realizes that that top battle is not going to end in their favor once level 7 is being hit, and that's the case right now. And with this, we are going to see Expert make a move.
Level 7 to 6 here. I'm watching Bad Benny. He'll be the one to make the move that you're talking about there. Continuing to watch the Probius up here as he keeps clearing out, hoping to get that lane pushing so they can get some advantage, of course, move into that smoke area. Now, Bad Benny continues to dance, but Breeze just standing strong in the front line, especially aided here by Quacknex working in those auto attacks.
Yeah, and another thing is that we actually saw... It's a bit interesting what Expert did, because they rotated Jaina down to the bot lane once they had level 7 reach. So they found themselves facing a 4 versus 3 at the top lane. That gave them a bit of pressure at the bottom, and they were able to recapture the beacon. But I really thought that with a level 7 advantage, they would push the issue a bit harder up at the top, try to get the beacon, and maybe even get a kill here. They didn't jump on that opportunity. And Fnatic also made a smart move by taking their Merc camp at the top lane, so it pushed in just when that small timing window for Expert opened, so it made it a little bit more difficult for Expert to really execute it.
Expert really trying to prey on Wubby down here, but he's playing so safe. They did get the kill earlier, but Fnatic just not giving them the opportunities anymore, and they are pushing in that top lane, all 4 of them. Wubby just plays so still, so patient. It's one of the reasons why this team is successful, because Wubby just knows how to hold that counter lane at all times in the game, and that lead for Expert is dwindling heavily. Yeah,
and we come back to the level 10 that you pointed out a bit earlier. How much is that really going to influence Fnatic? Because at this point, when they have really Breeze at the front line with his heroic ability, that's going to change the game. For now, though, Sonya being attacked, but Shrimpy in a good position, trying to block Jaina off. Breeze is looking for another jump, Cleanse being used, and Nick is barely getting away. Quacknex was attempting to go in for a kill shot, but there was just too many hit points on Jaina.
Solid body bucking by Breeze there. Blade continues to hold the bottom lane for now. The level 10 is getting close that you were mentioning. I think it goes up pretty high here, the team fight potential for Fnatic. You get the actual engage into the taunt, so Fierce Match follow-up. The damage, great there for taking out Jaina, Malfurion, even Probius at that point.
And that's the point. The Sulfuras follow-up after Varian goes in. Like, you need to make that count. If they can blow Jaina up, if they can blow, like anybody, Probius, Jaina, Malfurion, if they get a good combo off against one of these targets, it should fall. So that's going to be absolutely crucial. You need to make sure that you expose yourself too much against the ETC potential counterplay here. But this is something that Fnatic is looking for right now. And we find them behind when it comes to the beacon progress, but overall, they're starting to do real work at the top lane.
Yep, starting to apply some pressure on the fort, working on getting that well killed off. Here comes that Benny with a big rotation movement in. We're going to have the protection being dropped down on Breeze, but he just holds there. Nick will bring out a few of the damage, but ATRD and crew really not doing much, but tickling.
Yeah, it's totally right. Like, they're really just tickling away here, and the problem is really how do you get through Varian?
Yeah.
That guy just doesn't die. I mean, he's spec'd fully into his parry, and that helps him so much. Then you have a Zarya behind you that drops out the shield. So right now, this is actually starting to look a bit better for Fnatic, even though Expert hits level 10 slightly faster.
Well, Wrath's chosen, Mosh Pit as well, and Ringer Frost. So Expert looking for a hard engage from Bad Benny and potentially a flank from Jaina to win their fights. Blade in the bottom has applied pressure to Wubby and also burned down the ammo on these turrets so they can at least get some experience set up, but Fnatic continues to counter push in the top lane. If they can keep that clear up, Probius at some point, when he loses his pylons, will have a difficult time actually dealing with the pressure that continues to poke from Vala and, of course, the Zarya.
Yeah, and the towers right now, they just don't, the turrets don't do too much because we always have that heal and that double support, so to say, behind them with the Zarya. And now with Taunt and the Sulfura Smash in play, this is going to be a bit rough for Expert, I feel. And you can really tell that Fnatic at this point would love to make another move. But look what Expert did again. They're stealing camps all over the place, the entire game. All of a sudden, Wubby at the bot lane with his Ragnaros sitting there is like, boys?
I'm enjoying this type of jungle pressure that continues to happen from Sonya. Sneaking Blade, sneaking Bad Benny as well. Just getting pressure where they can. It hasn't really equated to much in the last few levels, but they're attempting to keep pressure on their opponents. And Ragnaros is the one that's actually kind of hurting the most from it, as that bottom has been pushed in so much. And now that it's open, Wubby could be snuck upon here with Bad Benny moving in and Blade there for the aid. There he is, walking in. Wubby catches him. Fnatic responds greatly, but the fort will be the loss here.
Yeah, the bot lane, yeah. Bot lane fort, they're making a trade right now. Up to the top lane, we're having, or do they? They should actually, but so far ADRD is actually holding his own against 4 up at the top. And at the bot lane, we're having a fort fall. So Expert is actually doing that very well. They still are ahead in experience. They haven't really gotten anything towards the objective yet, but at the bot lane, they're still making sure that a lot of pressure is executed now towards Fnatic's wall at the at the keep itself. We haven't really seen a whole lot of fighting. Like, we had 1 kill at the early game, and you can argue that Wubby was a little bit too far out, but so far that was the only death of the entire game. This is not the kill-heavy match that we expect. That's just like quoting the stats earlier.
It will blow up, though, when it does happen. When Varian moves in, Team Expert will respond with the Power Slide Mosh Pit / Ring of Frost, and that's where we're going to get our end result. If they connect, Fnatic can fall. If Fnatic moves in and gets the pick off, Expert starts to fall behind pretty heavily. Now, Expert, I want to talk about this Probius for a small amount of moments here, as we actually had time. Photon Overcharge was the heroic chosen. The pounds being up allows for damage to be applied, and he actually did defend that fort for a small amount of time, but he's also picked up Echo Pulse, which is great for helping out with that wave clear. You can drop down your W, set up your Q to get the return, and get that wave blown up. So Probius has been holding forever in that top lane, and it's kind of odd to me that Fnatic hasn't made an aggressive rotation, because Team Expert has been walking all over the battleground. They've gotten a little bit on the beacon phase, but in terms of control of the map, Expert's been doing a better job, IMO.
Fnatic wants to actually fight now, and they are down in talent, so they are up at the top. They didn't rotate to the beacon at the bot lane, and now we're having Expert going in for the objective. Fnatic rotates the Ragnaros down to the bottom, but they are going to lose quite a few points on the beacon progress here to their opponent. So yeah, Expert is at 82, 84, 86. Wubby just decides to leave it for now, so they will get away with 100% to 0% Zerg wave, since Wubby just didn't want to risk dying here. There is that advantage in the talent, and he just said, like, boys, if they rotate down with more than 1 hero, then we're screwed, so let's just fall back, defend against it. he still has a straight. He has the Molten Core, so they should be fine with the defense.
Yeah, and that's actually a really good point, Caldor. That's the reason why Wubby and team decided to pull back. If they lose Molten Core here, they could lose a keep. So you go for the safer play so you can have the solid defense in the bottom lane. Now, Mercs were also grabbing the top lane, so that 4 is going to be taking some damage while this big push is occurring for Expert. They move in. I'm watching Bad Benny here. Does he go for the power slide? The fort continues to take damage. Blade on the left, protecting his squishies, and Malfurion. Nick on Jaina as well. While ADRD is just setting up in the backline.
13 is still not there, though, for Fnatic. They need to wait for the next Talon. They don't want to fight a Talon down, but Breeze is already looking to maybe engage again. Decides to slow down Bad Benny. He's still 13. In range. 13 is ready. Goes in, but immediately Bad Benny sliding away. Talon's already set up in the back, so Expert just making a very coordinated effort to move back.
Expert's been drinking some orange juice the last couple of weeks. They are just looking much stronger, much more coordinated, less hectic, aggressive plays like we saw with old Medivh Portal play, and more map control.
I think if you're playing with the Probius here, you also have to do that. Like,
That's true.
You need to be a little bit more stationary. If you go for that Medivh play that you just mentioned, you're trying to be more all over the place. But it suits them kind of. It fits really well to what they're doing at this point, so they execute it quite nicely. I'm personally a little bit more surprised that Fnatic didn't start to go in on level 10 and try to force maybe a battle here and get a kill in. So that is a bit surprising to me personally. But I mean, they're still just going for the camps right now, and this... We have seen Fnatic pressured, but in the end all they lost were a few hit points on the keep. But at some point they need to start fighting. I feel like their comp really leads toward that.
I think Fnatic has the same opinion that you do there. They know that if they get the engage they want, if they get that lockdown, they get the taunt, they can win a team fight flat out, but they need to force it at some point. Schwimpy starts up the boss, grabbing some energy, looking for their opponents. Experts currently has their pro base in the bottom. The rest of the members are on the top. This boss is being focused. It's down to half health. Expert now will sniff it out here as Bad Benny moves in. He still has his power slide available.
Probius isn't there. This is the fight Fnatic wants. They're going in. They want to go for the boss, and Expert lets it go. This is smart. Like, we would love to see a fight here, but this is actually the smartest decision-making that we had from Expert. They know Probius at the bot lane. They do spot it, but they're saying, guys, if we take a fight right now, first of all, Probius isn't here. It's a 5 versus 4. Second of all, even if Probius comes in, before he really gets value, he needs even more time. We could lose so much here. If we lose the team fight and then the boss marches down the lane, then we have a problem. So let's just bite the bullet and say, okay, boys, we need to defend against this. We're going to lose something, but at least we're still in the game. And let's not forget, we are ahead in experience.
Yes, Fnatic controls space if it's in the first couple seconds, the front-loaded part of the fight. Expert controls space when they get set up. So they had to give up that boss. All they wanted to do, as Bad Benny moved in for an aggressive play, to maybe get the expulsion zone used, which would allow for them to go for an engage after the fact. But Fnatic, knowing they had the control, saved their heroics and are now pushing the bottom lane, getting a fort, and they'll be able to start tying up that experience, even with Expert almost hitting 16.
I also want to give a quick shout out to especially our Jaina player here. Nick is keeping himself very far in the back, exactly where he's supposed to be. So far, the only target that Breeze really had for his charge was going up against ETC, and ETC doesn't really care about that. He's just like, all right, boy, see ya, slides out, and then it's all good for them. So Expert is really good at just positioning themselves now in these situations so that Fnatic doesn't really get an easy target and an easy kill.
And they have to. Well, Blade pops Wrap, goes in, goes for the beacon phase. 16 to 15, Expert knows they should press their advantage, and they are pressing it well. Ragnaros rotates to the bottom, but here's Bad Benny setting up to knock away. ADRD will be here to help out with the fight. Bad Benny forced a power slide away as 4 members are in the bottom, but everyone from Expert is here. They can make a play to go on the beacon.
Fnatic has actually 5-man a lot right now. They're splitting Rack off to the top at this point, but they are in a situation where they again are down a talent, and that forces them to just move in as 5 a lot more than they would really want to. Again, Probius is setting everything up, slowly pushing forward here, and Fnatic is sacrificing a lot on points on the beacon progress. Will be buying time against Blade now as the rest of the team rotates in again. They need to take these waves down so they have level 16. They cannot fight without it.
I don't know about you, Caldor, but every time I see Probius drop down a couple of those Ws, I get annoyed for Fnatic. You can't just force your way in there. It's so difficult to deal with that little pesky probe.
Again, I'm a Zerg at heart. If I see a lone probe somewhere on the map, I already know it spells trouble because that cannon rush is coming.
That it is. Explosion Zone popped as well as Taunt and Engage. Breeze moving in, finally making the aggressive play. But Malfurion Root comes out as well as a Photon Cannon and a few of those Ws once again from Expert. They are grabbing the beacons. They're moving towards 100, and they're going to win the second beacon phase 100% to 0.
Now for Fnatic, what would have been great here is just like to delay it a little bit more because they had a great push with the minions and Mercam going up at the top lane. But right now, you're totally right. They, again, let it slide. And they are really in the spot where one of the reasons why they have to do that is because every time the beacons are up, they're down a talent. Expert plays extremely well around it, and Fnatic is just like trying to look for that opening. The problem is they're starting to run out of time here. The next hit, I mean, the aggression at the bot lane could potentially result in a keep being taken out. I don't think it's going to be quite that bad if Ragnaros gets there in time, but Fnatic, they soon need to take a fight or they are going to be faced with not having a single keep left.
Just for perspective, Team Expert has yet to use a Ring of Frost this entire match. We're about to hit 17 minutes and a half, almost 18 minutes, and a Ring of Frost has not been used. That's how little team fighting we have had. Bad Benny, though, goes to Power Slide. He does miss. Counter taunt. Blade moves in to apply some pressure. Probius continues to poke, and Expert will scurry away.
Yeah, and also like nice dodge on the side of Vala that we just saw there against the slide from ETC. But now Fnatic is down a keep. So slowly and steadily this game is really taken by Expert. And Fnatic, I can tell you one thing, like in the shot calling, it's probably going to be Quackney. So it's like, boys, it's fine, it's fine. Just like, wait it out, we're good, we're still good. We need to take that fight. We need to just delay a little bit more. Take the fight before 20, and then we can take it from there. But Expert knows that. Expert is sitting there and says like, boys, let's look at this. How is this possibly going to end? And they know that a fight right now would actually benefit Fnatic a bit more. They don't want to fight. Fnatic forces it by going for the boss here, trying to make sure that ADRD cannot set up properly. But I think they have to fall back here because it was spotted way too early.
Yeah, ADRD is set up. He's got a pylon, he's got a Photon Cannon down, he'll got another pylon in a couple of seconds here that he can toss down. And that Photon Overcharge can be quite devastating. I'm watching for ADRD to continue to set up. Bad Finny, the power slide. Here's Nick on the side. There goes the Blizzard. Breeze will be able to take it, but we're going to have Expert going in. The mosh pit kind of whiffing there. Ring of Frost also whiffing, and Fnatic is turning this fight around here. Breeze maybe going for Bad Finny. Can he get him? No, he does escape for now, but Expert will have to deal with a boss pushing their bottom lane.
At the top lane, there is a push happening as well, so Fnatic is not going to get too much out of this. They have to defend, but that was extremely well done. First of all, they realized, well, we would like to move back, but we are afraid of the opponent stealing the boss away. Then once we are having the boss eliminated, immediately Breeze moving on the point, getting shielded, and even getting a kill. So right now, they did extremely well with this, but they still took a lot of damage and keep up at the top lane. So they really have to start making this count. And it's getting a bit iffy because Sonya's going to be back in 10. Fnatic should at least try to push for the keep if they can. They need to at some point start risking something. The problem is Rag isn't there.
Nope, Rag's not there. The boss is at half health. Ragnaros continues to clear on the bottom. And Expert does see that now as the catapults did reveal his position. Bad Benny. Power slides in on Zarya. There goes the root. Blizzard as well. Swimpy has used his shield. Is low on health. Smexy does not have Ancestral for 25. Schwippy continues to be poked down here by Nick, but with the totem slowing down everyone on Expert, they might not be able to chase, and they get away.
Great cleanse here by Smexy also, as once more HGC starts moving in. There's a few points on the board for Fnatic. That's the first time, actually. Ragnaros is moving in, and with the beacon at the top already taken, this is a fight where all of a sudden Expert is in trouble, because they don't have any control over the top. If they lose the fight right now, they lose the objective.
DRD working on setting up, has a couple of pylons down. Fnatic.
Oh, takes it.
Beacon. Okay.
Molten Core. Get out of here. And that's the first thing that they actually do. So he sacrifices the 2-minute cooldown, but they get some points out of it. And while we have Sonya up at the top, Fnatic is starting to make a play for the key.
Looking to trade off keeps here, at least see some cattle pressure of their own. Sonya has snuck up to the top lane here to go get that fort. If Blade can grab that fort, that would be so good for Expert. Bad Benny is taunted on. Here we go. He power slides away. Blizzard beat up at the same time. Explosion Zone has been dropped. Fnatic looking for a kill. They're just throwing out heroics, and everyone from Expert gets away, and the keep was actually killed.
Boy, that was bad for Fnatic. Like, they what Fnatic's thought process was here is at first they wanted to pressure for keep because then they can force the opponent back and they were hoping that they can hold on to the beacon at the top lane. They see that it's taken, but they realize they won't be able to kill the keep with the expert defending. They were afraid of the Sonya flanking, so they just moved back, but Sonya took their keep. Now they lose everything. The mosh pit is in there, Schwimpy is down. Expert is about to hit 20 as well. It's half a level and Fnatic is in so much trouble. They are most likely going to get the Zerg wave. Indeed they will. But
if Expert gets one more kill,
making such smart moves here.
That could be a core rush. There goes the Blizzard. Ragnaros does fall. Bad Vinny leading the charge here. He'll have power slide at about 4 seconds. The totem is dropped down for Smexy, which is helpful. But if you're Expert, you could just start to push in for the core. They have a Sonya here that can get in the front line. If you get Proteus with a couple pylons down, you should be good to go, especially with the catapult pressure. They're doing it. They're moving in, and they're looking for the core.
Expert is moving in. As you said, they're starting to go for it. Already Breeze in the backline, trying to just push Nick back on the Jaina. Same time now, Ring of Frost is in. Great Ancestral from Smexy, saving everyone for now. And Expert is running a bit out of time. Zarya will be back in another 3 seconds. And still Fnatic desperately trying to defend here. But the level 20 is ready for Expert.
20 is here. Zarya has spawned. She's going to bring in the explosion zone. Bad Betty focusing down the core. Blade spinning to win here. Is sustaining slightly. Nick with the damage as well. And Expert dropping the core down to 0%. Walk away with the first victory of week 6 here against Fnatic. Nice win.
Yeah, really well done here. And especially it wasn't really just like how they played in the fights, but also like how they controlled the game itself, which is really impressive. That one move with Sonya, I love that, because at that point they just decided, was probably ADRE making the call and saying like, listen, you don't have to go back, we can hold this with 4, there's no problem. You go for the keep, you drop that. And Fnatic was already moving back because they were afraid of the Sonya flank. Then all of a sudden they see Sonya at the keep and they say like, guys, we're losing the keep, now we have to do something. You see them trying to move back in. And at that point, the keep is fallen. Sonya's already teleporting back, and that was brutal.
Yeah, at that point, you're going into Panic City. We saw them literally fleeing 3 heroics out and not connect anything
randomly. Yeah. So for a smash, didn't hit anything. Not even that he didn't hit it with a bullseye. It didn't hit anything at all.
Neither the explosion zone, and then suddenly Expert, with this control that they had shown the entire game, moves in for the last engage. They get the mosh pit off, and we actually had a really good cleanse from Smexy, but no explosion zone was available, and Zarya had to dance once again. So unfortunate moments for Fnatic, but again, this is a best-of-5 series.
Yeah, it's a best-of-5 series, but going into the series, we asked how much is that loss at the Western Clash actually going to affect them?
Yeah.
And it's not one of the things where you say, okay, they lost the game because of it, but I really feel it plays a part because the aggression that we usually see from Fnatic wasn't there.
Yeah.
They forced a fight at the boss that they won in the end, but a lot of what we usually see Fnatic do when they're trying to just like take a battle and completely follow through with it just didn't happen for them this time. Maybe it was the lack of globals, which they usually exploit, I would say, better than any other team, but overall that was for a pretty weak performance for Fnatic here. At first you can understand that they're trying to push the fight back a little bit and say like, okay guys, this is a bad time, fight later, but at some point they run out of time and expertly abused the situation, took both of the keeps.
Good pun.
And
good job.
I got stuck with the word. I was trying to go for a different one.
I'm proud of you. It was good. It was good. Well, will the loss weigh on Fnatic? We'll find out as we'll get ready for game number 2. We'll be right back in a couple minutes.